continuously have in any case. If I can just lock you into a model where you're getting this regularly, then it's much better. And I can take costs out of the system. I have more predictability in my revenue stream. I'm not looking at distribution the same way. There's so many different benefits, but there are equally costs that are different as well. So, but a lot of money is going into things like this. And I'm not saying all of this is going to be successful. But if you're sitting there with 70% market share in a razor and razor blade market, I think it's worthwhile throwing a little bit at it. This is Airbnb. Now, the reason I put this up there is this is their graph, June 2008 to June 2012. Airbnb is probably one of the most famous businesses that no one thought would work. And here's a great TED Talk. And just to simulate it, because I'm full credit to them, because they've explained it really well in it. And let's see. So to understand the idea and the challenge that Airbnb had to deal with, let's do a little experiment. Can we? Yeah? Okay. So everyone has a phone. Take out your phone. Can you unlock your phone? Yeah? Can you pass your phone to the person on your left? All right. Feeling a bit nervous now? That's Airbnb. That's the idea you go in with. You can pass your phone back. We're done. So, you know, when they put it in that context and you say, I'm going to go to a guy and say, this is what I want to do. I want to let people go stay in strangers' houses. And I'm going to build a business around this idea. It sounds ridiculous. And it just, you know, they had a hard time raising money. A very hard time. But eventually they got there. And the point I want to make is, look at that ramp. And now we're at 10 million nights booked this was 2012. We've well surpassed this number now. They are the largest accommodation company in the world. And it started with something that felt so wrong. And you just look at the manner in which they were booking one every day, one every 5 minutes, one every minute, one every 10 seconds, one every 2 seconds. You know, you then have this company, Warby Parker. Luxottica is the largest eyeglass company in the world, you know, glasses. Now, they were chugging along, basically selling eyewear at ridiculous prices. I think it was 3 guys at Wharton, actually, who looked at this industry. One of them was working with an NGO, trying to help them get eyewear in South America somewhere. And so as a result of that, he had looked at the whole eyewear supply chain and figured out that, you know, my God, there's a lot of margin in this world. And so they came back and they decided, let's build a brand that's going to be focused on eyewear, and let's take costs out of the entire system. They focus on highly designed products. And this is an example now of, again, a technology business that has said, I'm not just going to distribute somebody else's product. I'm actually going to take on the headache of making it. And so they went in and they manufactured, they figured out the whole supply chain to make this stuff. They made it. They've built a fantastic business that now they've also started to roll out physical outlets. So they have physical retail outlets. So I think we've crossed from a point where technology companies, and granted, look, there will still be your WhatsApp of the world that will have 4 engineers and get sold for $19 billion. But there will be real companies like Warby Parker or like an Honest Company. Honest Company, again, started by Jessica Alba, who was a Hollywood actress. She was having a kid and she realized she didn't like any of the products that were out there in the market and felt that there should be better products. There should be products that are safer. Straight at the FMCG business. And went at it with an online distribution model. They created a subscription model for diapers and built the business off the back of that and created a product that they said, look, we are safer, we are cleaner, we are nicer, built on the back of social media. You know, I'll come to that later. Anyway, so this is another business, again, where you're owning stuff. The mattress business. You know, this is the guy, the CEO of Casper, who said, our industry has seen so little innovation for decades. Mattresses. Again, I couldn't have thought of a more simple, basic industry. I'm not sure what you could do to it. But nonetheless, they turned around and said, all these guys are talking like this. This is their ad. These guys said, look, why do you need to go to an outlet and do this? What we'll do is we'll design a better mattress. We'll put a lot of our product and energy into making the mattress good and better. And what we'll do is we'll take all the distribution costs out of the equation. And we'll just send it to you. You get 30 days to try it. If you don't like it, send it back. And we'll change the entire nature of the experience. Now, look, again, I may have been skeptical about this to start with. They're doing extremely well. And again, just thinking about very basic industries and changing them. So, look, I also think the lines between B2C and B2B are blurring. When I look at our companies today, we use enterprise software in ways that were never sold to us by an enterprise salesperson. Dropbox, Evernote, Slack, Google Apps. I've never talked to a salesperson. None of our companies ever have, but they use these products. They start with the consumer, so everything is getting consumerized. I think more and more we're going to see things come as a service. And I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the home appliance world and what we see there as well. Data. Data has become the center point of everything. If, let's say, the previous decade was all about the product manager, the next decade is all about the data analyst. And you're going to see this not just in B2C companies, but I think in B2B companies as well. And I think you'll see that sustainability and focusing on the idea of being good in the market, being good in the environment, is really going to be what's going to cause a win-win. Consumers want that. Whether you saw that, one of Warby Parker's underlying thoughts is they give a pair of glasses with every pair of glasses you buy. Tom's as a pair of shoes, they give a pair of shoes for every pair of shoes you buy. There's this idea of a lack of conspicuous consumption for people. I think brands are also playing down their prominence. I think Louis Vuitton, for example, at the high end has now started to reduce the prominence with which it puts its logos on things because they're finding that consumers don't want to be as conspicuous in their consumption. So a lot of this, and you mentioned earlier as well, Uber. Uber is a great example of a lot of this. And you talk to them or you listen to them and you hear what they talk about. They're, one, not just talking about, let's say, the taxi industry, or not just talking about the transportation industry. They are basically talking about this idea that, look, tomorrow, why do you need to own anything? You get things when you need it. I happened to be in the Bay Area in '98, and Amazon had gone public about a year or so before. And Amazon at that time, I was actually seeing if I could find it. Their web page was all about books. And I think they just started to move into toys. And everyone was wondering, what is this business going to be about? Because it just doesn't seem to make sense. How big a business can you build selling books online? But you would talk to the research analysts. I used to work at Credit Suisse. The research analyst that covered Amazon, and she would say, you have no idea what this guy's vision is. He's going to get into everything under the sun. He's going to be selling you all these products. What are you, crazy? How are you going to sell? Why would I buy a laptop from a guy who sells me a book? Or why would I buy a shirt from a guy who sells me a laptop? Today, that's exactly what Amazon has done. And not only that, forget their retail business. Amazon Web Services has become phenomenal. And you read anything about Amazon, they'll tell you that they still feel that they're in hour one of day one of year one of this marathon. And so they believe it's so early still. And so Uber, I think, is very much similar in nature. I don't think we've yet understood how impactful this idea of bringing products, messaging, and payments together, which is what it is. Forget the fact that it's a car that runs on the back end. That's why you see the Uber for this and the Uber for that. It's because Uber could ultimately do each of those things. Now, whether they do or they don't, who knows? But look at this. This is the growth in their value. 5 years. They've surpassed General Motors and Ford in value in 5 years. Now, maybe that's not sustainable, but imagine if it is. I mean, that's just phenomenal. The rate of growth of value for a business that just seemed like, really? I mean, there are enough taxi companies out there, and you have to fight the taxi unions, and you have to do this, and my God, that seems like a headache. Why bother? It seems like a good bother. So, What's the largest growing enterprise software solution look like? That's the logo for the largest enterprise software company. Slack. These guys are worth $3.8 billion. They've raised $540 million and have 2.7 million users. They're, I think, 3 years old. Yeah, 3 years old. Things change rapidly. I gave you enough examples of me getting it wrong. So, but at the same time, there are people getting it right all over the place. And these businesses are moving quickly. This is the pace of that chart. You see, again, it looks very similar to what we were looking at with Airbnb before. And now this is enterprise. So this is not even consumer. There's no need for you to use this as a consumer. And it's addictive as an enterprise. I was just with one of our companies the other day, and they were telling me they don't use email at all anymore. It's all on Slack. And it's all fantastic. They love it. There are people doing, and it's created engagement in a different way. And I was asking why. It's because people don't look at it as work. They look at it as, it's like Facebook. They're slacking. They are on Slack, I assume, given home appliances, you're familiar with Nest? Yes? Yes? Okay. It's really interesting that the insight that 40% of your energy bill comes from heating and air conditioning. Understanding that and then saying, how can I think about this differently? How can I give consumers something different? Now, look, it turns out that they got bought out by Google, and so we'll never really know what the independent value of something like this could be. But the whole idea that you're now looking at an appliance in your house differently. You're no longer considering it a one-time sale of a gadget and walking away, and instead saying, how do I create consistent engagement with my user? My job is not to sell a device to you, but my job is to create engagement with you. You're giving this idea of currency, leaves. How do I now win more leaves? How do I now get competitive with the people around me to show that, look, I'm in the 5% of people that uses the least energy. I want to reduce my impact on the environment. I want to wear this as a badge. I'm going to go to a party and talk about this. My thermostat when people come home is going to look green to show that I'm good. I mean, there are so many things you can do to create this engagement, and it creates a connection with the brand that I think resonates much more deeply with who people are going forward. Now, we can argue that, yeah, but we're in India. Who really cares? I don't think that's true. I think that if you give people an option, and I imagine the consumers of your products, I don't know how many different ways you can talk about, let's say, a lock being better than another lock. My lock is more lockable. It turns better. I don't know what you can say. I think if you can connect in a way through some sort of consistent ongoing engagement, I think it's an option of something to do, and it's a way to talk about something that seemed to be very boring. I didn't put the example in here, but and we ran out of time, unfortunately. But there's a company called August, and are you familiar with August? So August is exactly that, a lock company. Now, we have August locks in our office because what they do is they allow me to actually lock and unlock it via my phone. So it connects when I show up near the phone, near the door via Bluetooth. I hit a button, it unlocks, and I can provision keys for people in the office as they need them. I can see a log of who came and left. It's been fantastic. I no longer have to worry and we are a small office, so therefore we actually use keys and things like that. But I no longer have to worry about, okay, did I give someone a key? Did we fire them? Did they make a copy of the key? Are they going to come back? Are they going to steal everything? Similarly for home, why wouldn't I do that? And actually the ads for it are fantastic because that's exactly the use case. And again, we can argue we live in India. There's someone at home all the time. Someone will let them in. I don't know. It seems like an interesting proposition of a thing to start with. And why not start with it? Why not try it? What do you have to lose? It's a little bit of money in a direction, and you kind of see where it goes. So I actually was can I get some more water? Thanks. So I was in Bangalore the other day talking to the guys at Xiaomi. And I thought Xiaomi was a phone company. It didn't occur to me all the other things they do. I know they have a TV, but I didn't realize that in China, so first of all, in China, Xiaomi is the third largest e-commerce company after Alibaba and after JD.com, both of which sell many other products. Xiaomi sells only their product. They sell, the product up there is a rice cooker. The one below is a water filter. The water filter here, we have a water filter at home, and every time something has to be changed in it, I have to call someone. I don't. Someone calls someone, they show up. It seems like open heart surgery is being done on something. And I don't understand why. Now, these guys have a water filter where there are 4 canisters in it, 4 filters. Anytime one is low, a message goes to your phone. You say, yeah, get me another one. It sends an order to the supplier, immediately comes home. It gets home, you take the old one out, you put the new one in. Done. Now, that's an integrated house. This is where this stuff is going. This company, the phone company, by the way, they started in 2010, okay? They started in 2010 building an operating system for a mobile phone. They basically said, Android's OS sucks. We can build a better one. Let's build a better one. They built a better OS. They said, you know, the devices suck. Let's build better devices. So they put out some devices. Today, they have 55 companies that they have incubated or invested in. 29 of them were incubated from the ground up. 20 of them have launched so far out of the 55. Out of that, 4 of them are unicorns. Unicorns are companies worth $1 billion or more. Built on the back of Xiaomi's ecosystem. So when you think about it, this is forget a phone company. They were an operating system company who is now selling water purifiers, air purifiers, rice cookers, and they're saying, I'm going to integrate it with your devices. And I'm going to make it more. Amazon's doing this with a variety of products. They've got the Amazon Alexa product called the Dot, which again will talk to all the devices in your house. They want to make a smart garbage can. When you throw a product away, it automatically orders another one for you. This is the direction of things. Now, this is going to fundamentally impact every aspect, whether you're a consumer or on the B2B side. This is a chart just on the Internet of Things. And so if you go back here, this is saying in 1992, we had 1 million computers in the market. And you got to about 500 million laptops. What's happening as we go up this graph is that you're just getting more and more connected devices. More and more connected devices means more and more data. I'm not saying more data is good. I'm just saying more data means somebody out there is going to figure something out with it. And if you're not thinking about where to go with it, I think that can be problematic. So this is a quote. It's debatable. I don't know. I mean, I was at a talk the other day where someone said that the innovations of the last 20 years have had such little effect on productivity in comparison to what the Industrial Revolution did. So I don't know that this is true, but nonetheless, I do believe that it's going to disrupt businesses or provide opportunities to think about things a little bit differently. And this applies even to the biggest of machines. And again, now I'm getting into the world that I don't understand well at all, but I can just tell you more anecdotally that these guys, as selling aircraft engines, are now saying, look, we should put sensors in all these things so that rather than having to deal with post-fact maintenance of things, we can reduce the maintenance costs, which seems to make a lot of sense. RollsRoyce has, for over a decade, sold hot air, so to speak, on a subscription basis. So coming to the question again, they sell 80%, 50% of their current customers and 80% of their sales now going forward, they project, are going to be people buying airplane engines on a per-use basis, on a per hour. So the power hour, right? The power by the hour. Solar, energy. Again, these are SunEdison basically changed the very dynamic of things in the US by saying, rather than you putting money up front to buy it, $6,000 up front, you can put $0. They will do the financing. Everybody can have their own energy. One of my partners is in the US. He tells me he can basically choose who he buys energy from. He has all these different options and different ways of looking at things. So even things as basic as how energy is being created and distributed is changing. Philips with LED lighting. They decided rather than charging Amsterdam Airport for the lights, they would charge them per usage of it. So again, the models are changing because you can control the data, you can control the systems around it, and so suddenly you're looking at a longer term relationship. I'd imagine if I were Philips, I get one contract to service the Amsterdam airport once and I'm done and I'm out, then the next time I have to go back for something else, I have to reestablish everything. If I have an ongoing billing relationship, just as far as B2B sales go, an ongoing billing relationship, I think, is the holy grail. If I can bill you every month, my God, you're going to have a reason to see me, and I have a reason to talk to you. If I make one sale and I'm out, I better have made all the margin I possibly can in life from you, because who knows when I'll get in again. So, and this is a chart by CB Insights, but basically they were saying, people are directly going after large companies. And they're saying, here's Honeywell. Let's see what we can attack. I mean, that is how entrepreneurs are going to think. You have an interesting business. If you're making margin, trust me, someone's coming after it. If you're not making margin, I don't know why you're in it. But if you are, I mean, everything from humidifiers to door chimes to fans and heaters. People are going after all of this stuff. But it doesn't mean that all is lost. Now, this is G's chart on how they think about stuff. And they're saying that, look, basically, the future is the industrial internet. So you can take all your manufacturing, but you put everything in the cloud, and you look at all the data that comes in from how consumers are using your product.